The National Council of Teachers of Mathematics welcomes you to Adding It All Up, a podcast created by and for mathematics educators and teachers. Join us each month as we explore current topics, insights, and emerging trends with thought leaders in the math community. And now, the hosts of Adding It All Up, NCTM President Kevin Dykema and NCTM President-elect LaTrenda Knighton.
Hi, welcome to today's episode of Adding It All Up. We have a wonderful episode planned for you today. Today, we're going to have an opportunity to speak to two of our lovely mathematics educators and to talk about our NCTM flagship journal, Mathematics Teacher, Learning and Teaching Pre-K-12, or as we affectionately refer to it as MTLT. So if many of you are wondering what is that flagship journal, this is a journal that's for you, that practicing pre-K-12 teacher.
One of the things that I so appreciate about MTLT, it's quick professional development for me. As a middle school math teacher of over 25 years, I feel like I understand middle school math fairly well, still growing all the time. But one of the things I appreciate about this journal is it's PK to 12. And every month when I'm reading it, I'm exposed to how does math education look in the pre-K world? How is it looking in high school? And I'm starting to see more and more of those vertical progressions of different topics and vertical progressions of instructional pedagogy. So it's helpful for me to know where my students are coming from, where they're going. And there's such fascinating articles in every single journal issue.
Kevin, one of the things I will remember when we moved to MTLT, I was excited. And then I was a little bit reminiscent of my journal that was just for my elementary teachers. But one of the things that really excited me was I was able to see how the work that I started in the early grades, how it was built on and how it progressed as it moved to middle school, and even to see connections for high school. And I have to honestly say that it really helped me with my personal professional development, because it helped me to see why we did some of the things we did, why we should do them a certain way, so that it helped our students to make sense. Now that I've transitioned into a role where I support teachers mainly, this has been my go-to resource really to help support teachers in my district, because now I have something that I can use for teachers in elementary and middle and in high school. So this is a wonderful gem that's available. So I'll let you introduce our first speaker and let's learn a little bit more about MTLT.
Sounds great. So Angela, if you want to introduce yourself, then we'll throw it over to Krystal.
Thank you, Kevin, for inviting us to speak today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about MTLT. My name is Angela Barlow, and I'm Dean of the College of Education and Professional Studies at the University of South Alabama, down here in Mobile, Alabama. But I am also the inaugural editor-in-chief for MTLT. So this is a journey that I started back in 2018, and I'm still journeying along. And I appreciate this opportunity to share with you and the listeners a little bit about our journal.
Thanks. And Krystal, you want to introduce yourself a moment?
Yeah, my name is Krystal Jones. Thank you for having me here. I met Angela, I think, at a journal club discussion where we took one of the MTLT, or we took an archive article from one of the legacy journals, and that's how we connected. But I am a middle school math teacher in San Jose, California. I just finished the year at Hoover Middle School. And I am a writer for MTLT. I published an article.
Thank you so much, ladies, for being here with us. So, Angela, for any of our listeners who are not familiar with MTLT, is there something you can tell them to give them a little bit more insight, in addition to the things that Kevin and I shared about what we like about the journal?
Sure. So MTLT is the, I forget the phrase you use, LaTrenda, but I'm going to go with the best journal that NCTM publishes. I shouldn't say that. They're all great. But what's great about MTLT is that it is written for the practitioner. So our audience is the teacher, the classroom teacher, whether you're in pre-K, grade 3, or 12th grade. We are aiming to provide you with content that you can immediately take up and use in your classroom. This journal is published monthly, And there's actually a paper version. A lot of people don't realize that you can elect to receive the paper version in the mail, but the actual journal of record is the digital issue, because we are a digital first journal. So that means that we publish ideas thinking about the online platform. That's our priority. And what that does is it allows us to include videos, classroom videos, apps on the internet, other digital assets that really enable the stories and the ideas and activities that writers are sharing. It brings all of that to light. So what I hope is that our members and our non-members who want to become members will take the time each month to open the journal, think about the contents there and how you can utilize those in your classroom, because we have classroom tested ideas that our readers benefit from reading about.
When I go to that digital version, I find so much value for those videos. And as I work with educators and talk with educators throughout the United States, so often I hear, oh, but if only I could see what it looks like in action. And with this, I think through your work, Angela, and through the work of the board and all of our fantastic writers, we're actually able to see what it looks like in action. What are some of the other features? What really sets MTLT apart from other journals?
Sure. So one of the things, and you spoke to this a little bit in the opening part, I think both you, Kevin, and LaTrinda mentioned it, is this idea of coming to better understand what happens in one grade and how that connects to other grade levels. So seeing things how they vertically align. We have what's called front and center articles. We try to feature one of those every month, and that's exactly what those articles are designed to do, is to support the reader in seeing how things progress across the grade levels. We also have feature and focus articles that are grade banded, or they may be specific to a grade. And what that does is it lets the reader think about ideas and activities that are very specific to their students and being able to take away those messages and try to enact those in their classroom. Beyond that, we have problems. We have problem sets. We have growing problem solvers, which is a set of tasks. We've got exploring math articles if you're just into mathematics and you want to dive into a cool problem. And then we also have some really great departments like For the Love of Mathematics, which is a way of showing how we all love mathematics. We have our Teaching as a Journey, which is a way to really see that, like, you're not in this alone, that other people are moving along a journey that's similar to yours, and they're learning things and they want to share those. So there just seems to be a lot in the journal that, regardless of what you're teaching, what grade level you're teaching, or what mathematics you're teaching, there's something there for you as a reader that you can implement in your classroom. And I'll also say we're really lucky because we do have the opportunity sometimes to connect with NCTM's classroom conversations. And so that is an opportunity that we've had in the past year or so to highlight some of our articles and learn a little bit more from our authors. So plenty of content, something for everyone. As long as you're interested in teaching mathematics, we've got something for you in the journal.
Angela, thank you so much for giving us an overview of all, I like to call the little nuggets that you find in MTLT, because it's packed full of so many different things. But as we listen, and I hope our listeners really paid attention to all of the different features that you've listed, it means that it takes a village to provide us with that content.
Absolutely.
So tell us, who can write for MTLT? How do you find writers to provide this content? Meaning those wonderful practicing teachers who do that.
That's right. It does take a village. And I'm very fortunate to have a village of associate editors, of NCTM staff members to help us to publish that journal every month. But at the heart of it all are our authors. And so to answer your question, who can write for MTLT? Everybody. And let me say that again really loud and proud. Everybody can write for the journal. And in fact, we want everybody writing. We really encourage our practicing teachers to write. We have people who are curriculum specialists, or perhaps they work in districts. They are authors for the journal. And then, of course, university folks who partner with classroom teachers and often co-author with classroom teachers. They're all writing for the journal. And we have lots of things that are out there to help people who are interested in writing. So, for example, if you go on our website and you look under our information for authors tab, you'll see we have an author toolkit, and it has lots of information. It has exemplars of articles that are there that you can read. Probably the journal itself is one of the best ways to start preparing to write, is to actually read the journal. So you can read the journal and get a sense of how to write. look for articles that might serve as a model as you write about your ideas. And then we have other things like our fellows program. So we have an MTLT Fellows program that supports classroom teachers in writing for the journal. And all that, again, really is geared at supporting the novice author. So many of us love math. Most of us like to write. Not everybody does. They'll tell me I'm not a writer, but we all have ideas and we all have stories that we can share. The journal is a platform for sharing those stories. And that does remind me, we've also done some webinars on how to write for the journal. They're all recorded and they're on NCTM's website. So lots of resources. Aside from me, like anyone who was interested can always reach out to me and ask for ideas or support in writing for the journal.
I love that you provided us with so many ways that people can get involved and write for the journal. Thank you.
Learn how you can write for MTLT and share your useful and classroom-ready content with mathematics teachers and educators. Visit nctm.org/MTLT submit to get started.
I know when I'm out and about and at different state conferences, I often run into classroom teachers, and so often the classroom teachers are like, writing just isn't for me. I don't see myself as doing that. I'd often point them to that teaching as a journey. That's, I'll admit, I don't read it from page 1 to page whatever in the journal. I always go to that teaching as a journey first and get inspired by that. And I know, Angela, you have this MTLT Fellows program to help novice teachers, classroom teachers, other novice writers be able to feel like they're able to write it, to recognize what's writing involved with that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the MTLT Fellows program before we hear from Krystal, one of our MTLT Fellows?
Absolutely. We started the Fellows program about 4 years ago, and I love this program. What the idea is that if you are someone who is presenting, so you're actively presenting at conferences, whether it's a state conference or an NCTM annual conference, you've taken that step of putting your ideas out there and sharing them with an audience. So it is our belief that you are then ready to take that presentation and turn it into a manuscript to be submitted for consideration at MTLT. The Fellows program, we have people that apply and they share with us their presentations that they've done. We match them with an associate editor. If you're selected to be a fellow, then you get paired with an associate editor. And we spend the summer together writing, learning about how to write. Some of our time is spent just sitting in a Zoom room while we're all writing. And with a goal of, by the end of the summer, although it usually takes until mid-fall or even December, getting that manuscript written and submitted to the journal. And I'm so proud of every author that we've had. We've had several that have been very successful with this. Krystal is one of those, and she'll tell you more about her journey in a second. And I have to say, Krystal, like when you were talking earlier, I was glowing with pride because I'm so proud of you and the author that you became, not just through the Fellows Project, but just your willingness to engage in that process. But anyway, we select the Fellows. People who are not selected still get to participate. They still can participate in all the information sessions, the writing sessions. They just don't get one-on-one personalized feedback. They get stuck with me. So I work with the others, which maybe that's not so bad, but still anyone who puts their name in the hat has the opportunity to participate with this. And I'll tell you, last night I met with our set of fellows for this summer, and it was a writing session. And it's just really inspirational to meet with them and hear them say, okay, here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what I'm planning to write. And then an hour later coming back and saying, here's what I managed to do. And there's a lot of pride in that work and in sharing their thoughts. So I'm going to let you talk to Krystal a little bit more now, or ask you. I shouldn't say I'll let you. I'm going to ask you to just a little I'm talking with Krystal now about her experience.
Well, first, Krystal, I want to thank you for sharing your ideas and sharing your experience from the classroom with the mathematics community. Why don't you tell some of our listeners what motivated you to want to take that leap and write for MTLT, or maybe it wasn't even a leap for you. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I like to write. So I love math, of course, but I'm one of those math people who like to write. So once upon a time when my kids were much younger, maybe 10 years or so ago, I submitted an article to one of the legacy journals, and it only got that far because when I was told I had to rewrite things, I wasn't willing to do that. And so when I saw the little blurb about the Fellows program in one of the MTLT journals. That was a no-brainer for me to apply and to get my writing fixed that way. And sometime around that time, I also participated in a journal club discussion that's now called something else. I think they're not called journal club discussions anymore, but it was about one of the legacy articles about English learners in the math classroom. And I was asked to write an introduction to that, which was exciting and getting my feet wet into writing my own article.
So, Chris, I'm so glad that you didn't give up, that you did persevere, and that you said, all right, hey, so it was revise and resubmit however many years ago. Let me actually join this fellows program. Can you talk a little bit more about the submission and the review process? I think that's a scary thing for a lot of teachers, the waiting. And I know as a class teacher, the first time I submitted an article, I just assumed that it would be accepted the first time. And lo and behold, it wasn't. And I've come to realize it's rare that you get it on the very first time, that it's a normal part of that writing process for that revise and resubmit. What was it like going through that process?
Well, first of all, I was prepped for it because 10 years ago when I started this writing journey, I was not. And so when I was told I have to revise something, I said, I don't have time for this. But when I had a mentor, like one of the associate editors was my mentor, as soon as I was told I need major revisions to my article that I submitted, which I spent so much time writing that article. So at first my heart sunk because I said, oh, major revisions. But I messaged him and he said, that's a good thing. And he gave me like very pointed things of what I need to do as my next steps. He said, set up a spreadsheet and go through and put the comments in and do these. He gave me very pointed advice on what to do. And it seemed very doable. And I sit and I wrote and I rewrote and it worked. It wasn't as daunting as it would have been had I have done it alone. So having the mentor was key.
Krystal, you mentioned that you love to write, and of course you love math as well. But what about some of our fellow educators who are thinking about, maybe dipping their toes into writing and they're a little bit hesitant? What would be some advice you might provide to them?
If you've presented at a conference, it's not hard to turn your presentation into an article. And one thing to remember is you don't have to take your whole presentation and turn it into an article. One of the things Angela told us as she walked us through the Fellows program is to look for like that little nugget of wisdom that gets someone excited about your or the most exciting thing that was in your presentation, the little nugget, and expand on that. And when you look at it that way, it really makes it doable. It's really professionally rewarding to see your article in print and to share it with people.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm so glad that you spent that time. You did those major revisions. You had that mentorship through the NCTM Fellows. So Angela, in addition to the NCTM Fellows, are there any other upcoming events, happenings that we should be aware of in regards to MTLT?
Absolutely, Kevin. In fact, as you're asking me that question, I'm thinking MTLT need a whole marketing campaign that we're not just a journal, because we have so much going on outside of the journal, all pretty much aimed at supporting us, but there's a lot happening. First, I want to share that we are starting a new program this summer, and we're calling it the MTLT Boot Camp. And what we hope to do is just have some very focused programming for people who are interested in writing, and then to support their writing adventure during that week. So I'm imagining that there are classroom teachers who would like to participate. University folks that maybe have not written a practitioner journal would benefit as well from it. People who are in their doc program could probably benefit from participating. So a lot of energy poured into a process within 1 week's time frame. If you're going to Chicago in September, and I hope you are, you'll be seeing signs for us there that it's a MTLT studio. This is a space that we have at the annual meeting where we meet with authors or potential authors to provide them support on site in terms of writing for the journal. So please be on the lookout for the MTLT studio in Chicago. Every month we do a teacher talk, and that's what Krystal was talking about just a moment ago. It used to be the journal club, which we decided let's make it sound a little bit more inviting. And so we changed it to teacher talk, and we meet on the first Tuesday of each month at 8 p.m. Eastern. and we talk about an article from one of the legacy journals. And it's a really great way to engage with people, not just from around the country, but around the globe. It's been fascinating to see some of our attendees who are joining us from other countries. A couple other things to look forward to. In October, we will have our special issue for this year, which the special issue's title is Gaining Traction with Actions. It's meant to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Principles to Action. So please be on the lookout for that special issue. And then around that same time, we'll be putting out a call for our next special issue, which I don't know what that is right now. We will be deciding that in 2 weeks when we meet in Reston at NCTM's headquarters, or as I like to think of it, the mothership. So we'll be going to the mothership and we'll be deciding on what that next special issue that will come out this fall. And then those manuscripts will be due in January. So again, we've got a lot happening in addition to publishing a journal every month, all 12 months of the year.
One of the really powerful things around MTLT is it's helping to build community, and there's something for everybody in there. And whether it's the teacher talk, whether it's a special issue, whether it's the boot camp, there's so many things there. If I'm somebody who wants to write and to learn more about it, Angela, is there a spot I can go to on the website to find out more information about MTLT?
Absolutely. Go to www.nctm.org. So that gets you to NCTM's website. And then do a / write for MTLT. Is it a backsplash? No, it's not a backsplash. That's in your kitchen. It is a backslash.
So we can get writing tips, we can get remodeling tips at the same time. It's wonderful.
You can also reach out to me at any time. Happy to work with people, point them in the right direction to get started writing for MTLT.
Thank you so much, Angela and Krystal, for being with us here today, for sharing your experience as the editor-in-chief of MTLT. And thank you, Angela, for your longtime service to NCTM and the math education community through this service. And Krystal, thanks for sharing your journey as a writer, for sharing your experiences and helping us all realize that we all can be a writer for MTLT.
And I just want to thank you both for the lovely conversation about one of my favorite resources that NCTM has to offer. And so this brings us to the end of one more wonderful conversation. And thanks again for enlightening us on all of the wonderful things that MTLT has to offer, and really highlighting how important this resource is for practicing teachers to use as a tool for teaching, a tool for professional development, and just for growth in general. Please make sure you tune in next month to our next episode of Adding It All Up.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Adding It All Up, featuring Angela Barlow and Krystal Jones. At NCTM, we strive to bring you the biggest topics happening in mathematics. Join us next month for another exciting discussion.
Connect in person with MTLT editors at the MTLT Studio during the NCTM 2024 Annual Meeting and Exposition, September 25th to 28th in Chicago. Register today to be part of this premier event in mathematics education at nctm.org/Chicago 2024.